All right, I had a request to make an eye, and there's a lot of ways to go about it, and I'm going to create a really simple one, and it's going to have a stroke around the outside, and it's going to have some masking involved. So the question was, how do I make an eye that is on the same shape layer that can be masked, and you really can't. So I'm going to start with a basic oval. I'm going to copy and paste and just keep that as a pupil. Change that to a dark fill. And then there was a question about putting a shadow on there. So I'm actually going to use the same layer, copy paste. I'm going to move this over, just bring this over, something like that. Take the stroke off, and let's make that a little, I don't know, gray. Maybe we reduce the curvature so it looks a little, a little bit different. And let me bring it back over. So if you're trying to do this stuff on the same layer, it's really hard, first of all, because you have all these points and trying to match them up. And, we're close here, but one of the problems is you don't have masking. You just can't do it. The second problem is you can see here that our shadow shape is going to take a lot of love to try to get right. And then the third problem, let's say I make this, I don't know, like a blue eye. You have the stroke problem. We want the stroke to go over the pupil. So there's all sorts of issues. Here's what I would do. I would use one of the scripts that are built in. Select all. Go scripts, layer effects, break apart shapes. A couple of checkboxes to pay attention to. This one should be checked. Put each shape in its own layer and group them together. And then also check the create separate geometry for each shape. Once you hit OK, it's going to give you a new folder and with all the shapes inside. So I'm going to name this eye. And then I'm just going to name each layer. So we're going to call this shadow. We'll call this pupil. And we'll just call this like white. Okay, this order is important. The white part, the big part, is on bottom. The pupil can be on top, or I'll probably actually put it on top. And then the shadows in between. To create masking, you double click on the folder, go to masking, and then hide all. So what it does is the one on bottom, if you right click, you can see what mode it's on. It is added to the mask. So now that is basically what's the shape that's used to mask everything else, everything above. If you right click on shadow, it's been changed to mask this layer. So we're masking it. And I'll show you that a little bit more in a second. Pupil, same thing, mask this layer. So if I take my pupil and move it, now it's being masked. Of course, there's another problem, the stroke, which we'll fix in a second. But let's kind of just make this guy bigger. It can be huge. It doesn't have to be so accurate. We're going to mask it. Okay. The last thing you need to do, double click on the layer that you have the stroke on. So the white of the eye has a black stroke on it. Double click, go to masking, and then this guy right here, excludes strokes. Okay. There you go. So now you have a pupil that can be hidden by the mask, and it's going underneath the stroke. And so is the shadow. So you can adjust that however you want to. Hope that helps. Happy animating.